We don't have one.
She is all
You will?
fired up.
No.
I know.
Okay.
I have two
No, I
cats
don't have,
tonight
no, I
for
don't.
breakfast.
Safety
One here
minute.
and one here. I'm on it.
Stretch your wrist.
I have 4 o'clock. Let's call this meeting. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Andrew, roll call when you're ready.
Rick Gunyon.
Present.
Krista Stillwell.
Present.
Mike Reeder.
Present.
Mike Kelly.
Present. Public participation?
Another,
Yeah.
oh, Joe Stevens is up here.
Sorry.
I'm not
Okay.
used to that.
I seen it. I go up here mainly to thank PJ and his crew. After the last meeting, I got a runoff drain by my house. I used to maintain it, so I have the last 4 or 5 years. I said something to him. I expected 2-3 weeks. They get to it. Very next day, they were out. I was surprised. So I just want to thank everybody in the utilities for everything you do. It's a great job.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
I owe everybody an apology. We had our meeting this morning and the safety moment, completely skipped it, and we're not prepared for one.
Well, I'll give
So
the safety moment.
Okay, thank you, Mike. So no, I guess that's what I had planned. Yeah.
When you're on a golf course, don't stand behind the hole when somebody's hitting at it, or you'll get hit with a ball. That's my safety moment.
Wow. Perfect.
Not only did it hit me in the hand, it hit me in the head. Okay. General Manager, you're up.
Hang on, Mike.
Do we want to do minutes?
We want to do minutes?
Oh yeah, I left it out, didn't I?
No, it's there.
You skipped over.
Oh,
Todd,
okay.
Todd jumped up there real quick.
Minutes, corrections, additions, approval.
I'll make a motion. We accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? Andrew, sorry.
Rick Gunyon.
Aye.
Krista Stillwell.
Aye.
Mike Reeder.
Aye.
Mike Kelly.
Aye. All right, now you can go.
Okay. First thing I have is the ACCS agreement, but with that, some other literature that you guys had one of them that was in the packet on the number of service desks, or I call it the trouble center. I'm used to the trouble guys, with the report on what has been done this year. And hell, I got the wrong one on that. Sorry. There's one other one on there, but Mike and I met with Mark and we discussed this. What was that, Thursday, I believe? Yeah. And there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that ACCS helps us with, other than just the help desk or whatever, like I said, whatever you want to call it. And we had a good meeting, but we wanted to get that out there and to discuss it. So that's there, but don't just look at that and think that we're not getting our money's worth, because we are at this point in time, because there's a lot of conversation that goes on between Shane and especially Blair. They're helping with the deployment of the Windows 365. Shane is in the process of rebuilding and redoing our servers out here, and I know he's been on there with that. So that's not a true reflection of what we get out of this agreement. And Mike, you called me this morning, and there are presently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 open trouble calls. 2 of them are pretty old. It has to do with the handhelds that electric uses for reading meters. One is for something with sewer maintenance, and I believe, Shane, is that with the camera truck?
I gotta try to get a hold of Daniel again. I'm not sure what that is.
Okay. But all the other ones are really from this month on, and there's nothing major. Some of them are getting different computers for girls in the offices at Old Stony, stuff like that. So it's coming along really, really well at this point in time. I think we're all happy with where we're at. But on the agreement, we met. Am I shooting at me? We met different times, and as I said earlier, really pleased with the way things are going. But there was one minor change that we made. It's on page 2 under item 7. And it is in the first paragraph. It says, under the terms of this contract, starting on the effective date, ACCS shall have secondary responsibility, and it lists some things, or that's what it says now. It did say primary, and we felt more comfortable with ACCS's role and what they do for us to have that as a secondary operation. But other than that, we changed the dates to continue this on to extend it on with an effective date of today if it gets passed. And then Mark and I, a couple meetings ago, I discussed that we're working on some things. He's still working on some stuff, and we will be coming up with some task orders and things like that to better service what we're doing, and with some inventories and things like that. So I believe we're making progress on it, and would feel real good if we would vote on this and continue it on.
Questions?
So I appreciate the update. So if I'm hearing you correctly, there's a lot of tech support that goes on that's not in a task order. It's just under the contract.
Yes.
Shane's got an exceptionally good relationship with Mark's staff and
Yes.
vice versa.
Yes.
And they call back and forth as needed.
Quite a bit,
to
I
get the
believe.
job
Yeah.
done. Okay.
Well, Mark and I have been
And
calling back and
I've
forth
talked to
quite a
Mark
bit.
about that in the past, and that's agreeable to both parties. So why not do it? You know.
Yeah. No, it's working very well. It
So
really is.
my question is,
Mhm.
you were referring to with an edit to item 7.
Yes.
You talked about. I inferred that you were going to re-up the contract or change the dates. Give me a little more information on that. What you're thinking there on the contract.
Well, what we had discussed, and before, was it last year or late the year before, we made an adjustment to the price,
Yes.
our fees that we were paying.
Yes.
And so we just changed the effective date and then took everything out another 36 months, Rick. And that's what we did here. We put an effective date in as of today, thinking that it'll get passed. And then we took the 36 months all the way out to June of 28 again. Otherwise, we'd be just coming up here every, this would be our third time trying to get it renewed. Although it does say it's automatically, no, it says in here it doesn't automatically renew.
Right.
So what we did is we're basically renewing it with that one statement or that one word being changed, and keeping it going for 3 years from this date.
So then, and correct me if I'm wrong, on the contract that's been in place recently with ACCS, ignoring the one that was in place in 2012 and so
Right.
there has not been a need for a task order yet. Is that correct?
We're getting close.
But so far there's not.
No,
been a
so
task
far
order.
there has not been.
But you anticipate
Yes.
having some work that will require a tax order coming up.
Yes, most definitely.
And the context of that is, it would be no different than if we're hiring Wessler and Associates to do some work on another utility. There'd be a task order to describe the project and
Yes.
the payments and what's due and deliverables. Okay.
Yeah, and it's something that I think everybody, when we get there, will be very happy to see.
Okay.
With what we're talking about doing right now. So.
Took care of my questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the new contract.
So moved.
I'll second that.
A motion by Rick and second by Krista. Roll call.
Mike Reeder,
Aye.
Krista Stillwell,
Aye.
Rick Gunyon,
Aye.
Mike Kelly.
Aye.
I have the pages that need to be signed, Mark. With
We're
these
having the whole
Post-it
board
notes
sign
here.
it.
And then Mark will need to sign it.
Yeah.
And we'll give him a copy. Okay. On other notes, the proposed data center is still alive. I've been having a lot of phone calls. I talked to Alicia the other day, and we were both in agreement according to the rates and different things that needs to be done from an IURC standpoint. We got Clay Miller involved. I had 2 conversations with him today. He is also in contact with their attorney that works on power rates and everything. So those 2 are communicating with Andrew Lanham about the rate that we will have to get into the ordinance, because we don't have a user this big in our rate ordinance. So he's working on that. So that ball just keeps growing. Their electrical engineering firm is now in contact with our electrical engineering firm for the substation design and build out, just getting their bearing straight on what's going on. And I'm orchestrating all these people talking to each other and staying up to date of where we're at. But it's, and I would believe, Mayor, you were in a couple meetings, that it sounds like a pretty big deal, to where they're even looking at more property than what they have secured right now, it sounds like. So, yes, sir.
Does that have to go before the IURC?
According to Clay today, no, because it is an addition to our current rates. We do not have in our rate schedule a rate for somebody that is this big.
Okay.
And what that means, Mike, is that if there would be another place come out that's in our territory, we would have to give them the same rate that's in our rate schedule. Now, if we negotiated a rate with them, then yes, it would have to go to the IURC.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is any potential rate for a new user class, this board would make a recommendation to the
Correct.
council.
Yes, it has to come here first. I said the council.
The council would be approving or rejecting that new rate class, correct?
Yes.
And
to put it into an ordinance, yes.
Right. So, not that it's necessary, but I don't know. I have a lot of experience with Shan Sheridan previous to this, not in this project. And one of the things we need to be mindful of is just unintentional commitments that get thrown about in meetings, and then all of a sudden the city council's in the crosshairs to deliver on those. And I'm sure Shan's been cautioned about that, I would guess. But in the same token, we're kind of along for the ride. This board is, and I guess keep us updated.
Oh yes, and that's why all the people that are involved right now, Rick, because it's being done professionally. There's not going to be any promises. It's going to be voted upon, and like I said, I misspoke earlier. It does have to come to this board first for approval for a recommendation.
Yeah, we usually do a resolution that states what our recommendation is, and then we send that resolution over to the city council, and then the city council will have an ordinance that will be in substantially the same format if they choose to accept the recommendation.
And one other thing that gets back to the minutes, and I failed to, from the agenda, excuse me, not the minutes. Am I correct? That's not the Duke line out there. That's the JTS line, right?
Where?
That they would be getting power from.
Yes, it's a JTS line. That is correct.
Somewhere in our paperwork, it alluded to the Duke line. That's something totally different.
Yes.
Okay.
I would imagine that's the line, and just assuming, I know I shouldn't do that, is the Duke line is the one that's coming through town, down Green Street and all that stuff.
There's 2 crosstown Duke lines, one south, one Green Street.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kelly Road and Mash Road, Kelly Road, and then Green Street. Those are Duke lines.
Yes.
This is something different. This is a JTS line.
Yes,
Okay.
because that sub that's out there by ConAgra is a JTS sub.
Correct. Yeah. So somewhere in our paperwork we refer to as Duke, but we mean JTS. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to hit some of these other items that are on here while I'm up here, Mike? Because I can give a...
Sure.
Okay. And Rick, I believe on the agenda, it does mention the Duke line. That has raised its ugly head again. I've been working on that for a couple weeks. now and getting information. And I talked to IMPA. They have sent a proposal, but before I present it to the board, I want to get more background work done on it because of we got to look to see if we have to do an appraisal. And Alicia, I need to talk to you. I'll call you tomorrow after I talked to Clay about that today. Okay. And then prices of some of the equipment that we'd be responsible for. So I want to have all that so that you guys can look at all at one time. So
I have to admit, you've confused me now a little bit.
this is a Green Street line, Rick. The line that Duke leases from us.
Okay.
Okay.
So we actually have an open item. It's not on our open items list.
Open item business, yeah, it says Duke line.
Down on the bottom.
Down on the bottom.
Don't we have an open item that we talked for the past 14 months, off and on, with the JTS line sale? Recall that?
Well, it is a Duke line sale, but IMPA wants to purchase it from us to put it into the JTS.
There you go.
Yes.
It's a transaction involving the JTS line.
Yes, and IMPA wants to get it because they're not invested enough. They don't have enough investment in the JTS, so this would boost them up in the scale of the whole JTS system.
So is that one the same as the discussion about the Duke line and regarding Green Street?
That's the exact same
Okay.
one. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. All right.
Yeah.
Good.
And really, other than that, things are going smooth. These guys are busy. Joe, I appreciate you commenting on the cruise we had today. It's greatly appreciated. But there's a lot going on, and started off this morning before 8 o'clock with a car accident, and they were Johnny on the spot. Dorval Howe was in there and heard it on the scanner, and he had our trouble guy on the way before the fire station, or at the same time the fire station in EMS was on their way. So they were Johnny on the spot and got it taken care of and everything. But things are going pretty well.
Billing office parking lot, any date yet on any of that?
Well, they got the holes patched, and Karen was on vacation today, and I was going to have her check to see when they were going to do it. I'm sure it's going to have to be on a weekend or an evening, but I will get that, and I can send an email out to everybody, let you know when they're going to seal it. Okay?
Clarification on that.
Yeah.
We only own a certain area there. The big hole out front to get onto 28 is not our responsibility.
On 28? No, we just
to
own
get
the
out
school.
on Wabash or Walnut or whatever.
No,
street that is.
we go nowhere
Wabash.
near over there.
That's what I thought.
That's probably is it in the drive for that, or is it?
Yes,
I do have the number of the owner of that whole plaza.
It's in
over
the
there.
driveway right there. There's two great big ones as you come out to get back on Wabash.
Go out on Hoke and get on Wabash.
Yeah, I seen it. I seen it.
Like I said, I have the name of the owner from when we were purchasing the billing office. Call him and tell him, hey, fix that.
I just thought we only had a certain responsibility around.
Yeah, it's the two or three light poles back there all the way up to the grass.
Okay.
It'll stick out like a sore thumb here when we get it.
I see
sealed.
Rulers fixing their part of it too back there.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Crenshaw's out there.
Well, then they're probably getting ready to do ours because that's who's doing ours, is Crenshaw.
So back to the area that we have responsibility for. I've heard some discussion about speed bumps. Can you tell us more about what you're thinking there?
Yeah, we're going to put a speed bump. It would be to the north side of the billing office there where the drop box is. And then we're going to put another one down towards the end of the building towards the drive up, because people will come off of there and they'll just go blowing straight down to get to Ruler and all that stuff. So we have them in the shed. We're just waiting for it to get sealed before we put them down, so they don't get covered in black or tar and stuff.
Are those the type that are typically taken up in the fall?
Yes.
For snow remoul
Yes.
purposes?
Yes.
And put back down in the spring?
Yeah,
Okay.
just like the ones on Clay Street down by the park.
Yeah.
And by the
East
East
Street
Side Park over here too.
And my last question, within the plans for that parking lot, do you have on your list repainting some of the small 4-inch metal poles that are around the buildings that are pretty scruffed up?
Are they in the corners? Because the ones,
Yes.
the ones we
Yes.
put in have the cover.
Now,
I-
these are on the corners of the building. They
Okay.
look like they've been in a fight with a lawnmower and lost.
Or cars.
Yeah. So just, if you could take a look at that, once we get I'm assuming we're gonna stripe,
Yes,
do some stripe line
yes,
or line striping.
yes.
Once we get that under control and done, we might take a look at those painted poles.
I'll tell you what,
Not the new ones, but the old ones.
yeah, I'll tell you what I'll do, Rick, is go by and get a measure. I don't know if they're 6 or 4 inch poles and just get the covers for them. And that way we don't have to worry about that because we're just going to, you know, if you don't strip it down, they're going to look bad with time anyway. And I think those covers are for a 4 inch, if I'm going off of memory here, might be $70 or $80.
Well,
And I'll just slide those over the top
I
of them.
think they're so visible to the public along Hoke Avenue that getting them cleaned up would, however you do it, would be, I'd be in favor of that, at least
Okay.
as one board member. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's fine. But
Okay.
I know we've had one car hit the one by the drive up already or before. So
Thank you.
we'll get that cleaned up.
Okay.
Anything else?
I don't believe so. Anybody else? Okay, payroll claims and transfers. We need any corrections, additions, or motion for approval.
I move we approve the claims as presented.
Second?
Motion by Krista and second by Mike. Roll call.
Rick Gunyon.
Aye.
Mike Reeder.
Aye.
Krista Stillwell.
Aye.
Mike Kelly.
Aye. Revised handbook update, I think just an update of where we are. We're about ready to get something out to you guys, I think.
Yeah, so I'm in the process of moving and adjusting and putting all the paragraphs in place, so it's in a let me try this again. Nice, tidy document for you all to go through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the areas that are changed or modified from our existing handbook. We'll highlight the areas that will require further discussion. I know one thing will be sick days and vacation days that we'll need to go over. So it is marrying two 50-page documents together. So bear with me as I fight with Microsoft Word to make that happen.
I appreciate the update. There's one area of concern I have, and it's related to that. It actually involves yet a third document. So we have the utility employee handbook. We have the City of Frankfort employee handbook. We have the utility union contract. And in particular, when we talk about inclement weather, they say different things, and it's hard to make sense of who's under what rule or guidance. So my interest specifically is making sure that all of our employees understand what the expectations are with regard to inclement weather and working conditions and call outs and hours of work and how cold does it need to be. And in particular, do we follow the Board of Works? If they say, oh, it's too cold for anybody in the city to work, or do we have to make a separate decision for the utilities? Or do we go out on emergency calls only? I'd like to see that kind of tightened up a little bit so everybody knows what we're doing.
I believe we
That
had
is a
quite
part
a
of the plan.
discussion about
Yes,
that.
we had quite a discussion about that. We actually, as Mike and I were sitting here, we either called Todd or Todd moseyed in, I can't remember, and we were discussing some of those things with him as well. That will also be one of the discussion topics for us to go over.
Great, thank you.
Okay. We'll go to Alicia for information about the IU Medical Clinic renewal.
So I've been working on working with IU Health to get information on the renewal. The most recent discussion was that we would have the same terms as last update, which was a 1-year update with a 4% cost of living adjustment, which is what we had last year. There was a provision that they had removed from the contract from last year, and the county wanted that in. So I reached back out to IU Health to see if we could get that put back in. They did agree to do that. I'm waiting on them to get me the contract. But if you all so desire, we could potentially approve that contract tonight same terms and conditions as last year is essentially what it is. And it would just be for a 1-year renewal. And then once I get the contract, I would make sure that it was exactly the same as last year, and then we could get that signed if that pleases the board. Otherwise, I'm hoping that I will get that before the next meeting, but I'm waiting on IU Health, which is sometimes a slow process. So, but that's where we're at. I think everybody is pretty much in agreement at this point to continue the contract with the same terms as last year. But
One of the things that we have talked about is if there's going to be some changes after this contract, it needs to be discussed and taken care of sometime after the first of the year and not wait till we get too far down the road to.
my recommendation would be to start talking about it this fall.
Yes.
Summer, late summer, early fall at the latest, just because if you're going to make changes, I've been trying to get IU Health at an agreement place since I think January or February. So it's been a long time that we've been going back and forth. And so if there's any changes that need to be made, getting those discussions started earlier would be in everybody's best interest. Or if there's a different route that you all would like to take other than IU Health, that's something that I also think would take a little bit of time to get put in place. So my recommendation would be starting that conversation sooner rather than later.
So is this something that the city and the county is going to renew this year?
Correct. Yes. So that would be something, it's a 3-part partnership, the Utility Service Board, the City of Frankfort, and then Clinton County. I have talked with the county, and I believe that they are in favor of the agreement as it currently stands, and I believe the city also is, although it has not been voted on at this point because we don't have the contract.
So the contract expires in July?
I believe the contract expires on June 30th.
Okay.
So we have one more meeting before it would terminate.
If we were to pass this evening, are you confident that the numbers and everything stays the same? And we could actually pass the contract with the 4% increase and everything's the same?
Yes, I am. I have looked at the contract. They've sent it to me a couple of different times. They wanted to, the 4% would be a little bit higher because last year it went up by 4% and then it would go up again this year by 4%. So those numbers wouldn't be identical to last year, but the premise of the 4% is in there. We went back and forth on that a lot. They wanted to, I think they started at 6% and we got them back down to 4%.
Okay.
And then I would just ensure that all of the other changes to the contract were the same as last year's changes, and then all of the provisions that aren't changed by this update would be the original terms of the contract, which we have had this entire time.
Okay, so if I was to make a motion that we were to pass it this evening, barring the city and the county pass theirs, that would be sufficient?
I would make a motion that the Utility Service Board would pass the agreement contingent upon the city and county also agreeing to the contract and it meeting legal counsel's review.
Well, I'll move with that motion.
A motion for that.
I'll second that.
A second by
She said it better
Kristen.
now.
I know,
I
right?
got a red line.
Sorry.
Could I ask Alicia,
Yes.
my understanding is for the city, it's the Board of Works who have the decision ownership to
Correct.
actually approve the contract.
Correct.
Aren't we in a recommendation mode, like as in the ordinance we recommend to the council? Don't we recommend that this be passed?
I mean, it's a little bit of a gray area with regard to the insurance because we are actually a party, I believe, that signs the documents. So we do have to sign off on it because our board is contributing funds to it.
But as long as we're aligned with the city and it's the same contract, we don't need to worry about the specific words necessarily too much, right?
No, I mean, because your board is signing off on it, I would want approval from this board specifically, not just the Board of Works, to be able to take that authority.
Right.
Yeah.
'Cause we're named
Right,
signatory. Okay.
right, yes.
All right, well, that's good. Okay.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Rick Gunion,
Aye.
Krista Stillwell,
Aye.
Mike Reeder,
Aye.
Mike Kelly.
Aye. Thank you. Next item, vacated chair. Um, We will be having someone eventually, but it come to my mind that what if I am not able to be here for some reason? Hopefully I can be here for every meeting, but you never know what could happen. I'd like to propose that should I not be able to be here as the vice chairman, that the ranking member of this committee or this board be the one who would take charge of the meeting. And I think we need to probably put that in a form of a motion, and so it would be in our minutes, I believe.
That'd be Mr. Reader by name.
Yes. In this case, yes.
I'll move that Mike Reeder would be the ranking member in charge of running the meetings in the case that Mike Kelly is absent and unavailable to run the meeting. Is that, yep, good? Okay.
I second that motion.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mike Reeder,
Aye.
Yeah, you can vote.
Rick Gunion,
Aye.
Krista Stillwell,
Aye.
Mike Kelly.
Aye.
And for clarification, that's to the end of this calendar year, essentially. At which time we would vote for a chair, vice chair. Am I correct?
Or when somebody comes in, we could vote for a chair and vice chair.
I think that would be a discussion we have when the new member comes aboard.
The board can make the board can make the decision whether they want to hold a new election, once we get another member on the board, or whether you want to just leave it status quo until the end of the year. That's a decision you all can
Okay.
make.
Well, since we didn't talk about that, that was why I brought that up. So we're gonna revisit it when the next appointee is named.
Yeah, when everybody's,
If you want to.
Okay.
okay. Board member requests for information at future meetings. Both of these are, the update on legislative is not ready to be presented yet, and the list of department vehicles is not really due until later.
Right.
But is there anything else that we should add to this list, that something that somebody might want to know about in the future?
Well, I have a comment. On the item that says from Rick, I am aware, and I spoke to Alicia offline at the end of or before a city council meeting, I believe, on an annual basis. One of her roles is she reviews the legislative changes and informs this board as to what changes impact our business, correct? And there's a certain way she goes about that, and that's always worked in the past. So I'm not asking for anything special. It was that normal process that I was referring to. So when she's good and ready, then we'll actually get that update from her. So that's number one. And then I do have a few other items that through email requests that I've submitted. Let me make sure we don't lose some of the stuff here. I had a conversation with Todd in late April, it looks like. And on May 2nd, I sent an email to the board. The topic would be looking for Todd to, my suggestion was to have Todd, or ask Todd to reevaluate how he estimates and allocates project costs. And I had attached that email dated May 2nd, the general fixed and variable overhead cost reference point that businesses use in general, including utility businesses. So I would request that project costing be put on the open items list and reference that email from me dated May 2nd to the board in that topic. In March, I asked, and then we had a couple extraordinary events, unfortunately, but I asked for an additional $5,000 to put in the lagoons budget on the basis that this year's lagoon budget got impacted by $5,000 for work done in 2024 and approved in 2024. It didn't hit our books to 2025, January 13th, I think it was. So I'm asking that be kind of adjusted. And I know at the time we wanted to see where the financials stood. So I think that's still the case. I'd like to see that earmarked on the open items list so we don't forget it. And related to that, ordinarily we have done in years past a mid-year financial review. We didn't really call it that, but we looked at the budget kind of the mid-year, halfway through the year. So do you want to put that, Mike, on the open items or schedule it for July or August or something?
I would say probably August so that we have July out of the way.
Okay. And we talked about the inclement weather.
Are you wanting 6 months with that or 7?
6.
6.
I can have my portion of that ready by the second meeting of July, if that's all you're looking at is the budget items. If there's other things on there, though, then that'd be up to everybody else. If it's just the budget that Kent and I worked on,
Yeah. Kind of like what you did for the first quarter.
yeah, that I can have that done. What is that, the 21st of July? Yeah. 21st of July.
And it's actual expenses to year to date versus the budget
Correct.
plan.
Yeah, for the first 6 months.
Yeah. Whatever
If you can
chairman
have it
prefers.
in the second meeting in July, okay, but if it's,
I should be able to. Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. As long as there's no
If
extra.
not, versus holding our feet to the fire, we could have it the first meeting in August.
Sure.
let's make sure, let's get it done
Okay.
first meeting in August, and
And the last thing I would ask, we put on the open items list. I'm a little uncomfortable. I would like to see us go back to the old business, new business being on the agenda. Maybe that's just me personally. And in that structure of the agenda, I think it's helpful and very appropriate that the board look at and walk down through the open items list each meeting and recognize, okay, we have 6 items or we have 3 items or whatever. We haven't typically done that, and what has happened in the past, through no one's fault, is suddenly a page will come out, notice of meeting agenda, and an open item or 2 will just be gone. And that's happened in the past. I'm trying to help us. If we're going to do that, let's do it intentionally. Take something off, that's fine. But
well,
it ought to be a board action, not just the chairman or the secretary, dropping something off because they think it's been talked about.
well, I
That's
think
my
if you
recommendation.
look, there's nothing, everything, I kept the open-ended business at the bottom of the agenda.
You did.
But I also moved some of the things up into the actions that we're going to be taking. And for instance, where board member requests for information at future meetings, that's basically what I consider to be the open item things. The things that you put, I would put up there, and then when they are done, I would take them off there. I think they need to be more detail about them than just Duke line at the bottom. Because like for tonight, there was a confusion over the Duke line versus another line. Like the ACC's contract was down there. Now it's going to disappear because it was taken care of in the actions and things that we have to, possible actions that had to take place. I don't care, but
Well,
I'm trying to make it so we see what's going on before we get to the meeting.
see what's going on before we get to the meeting.
What's
Okay.
going to happen at the meeting, like hopefully revised handbook update will be there again next time. But hopefully you'll have something in front of you.
Okay. Well, I didn't mean to get into a long drawn-out discussion. You have accommodated open items. We have reviewed those in this meeting. What we choose to do as a board in the future regarding old business and new business, I guess we can wait till the fifth board member is seated. We can talk about it at that time. So that's fine.
Todd,
Speaking of, and I remembered this, but was going to jump back up here if we had time. And it was on old business before, or it was on the parking lot. The street lights in Jefferson.
I was going to ask about that.
I went
you beat me
and
to it.
I met with the mayor, and we decided, I think mutually, that it was more in the bailiwick of the city people to be able to take over that. The Board of Works to get the police involved, you know, where they need them since they're patrolling and everything else. I forwarded all the emails to the mayor that I had, the phone numbers, the ticket number for them to give them when they called in or emailed them. So that's off of my plate, and it's now in the city hands at this point.
Well, that is fantastic news because, in my opinion, only if FMU was going to provide street lighting would you be involved. How you got nominated for that? I'm not certain. Maybe you step forward.
It's
And you
yeah,
all
but
raise your
even
hand.
with that, from the city standpoint here, or let's say our electric territory, somebody normally would go to the Board of Works, ask them, then they would
Right.
get with Chief Shoemaker, and they would have somebody go out at night and look and everything else, and then just give us the word to put it up. So that's how we based our decision. But I just want everybody to know it is off my plate.
Well, and that's good, particularly because as I looked at it, and I did this after you informed me, most of the utility poles that you would put streetlights on are not on the streets. They're in the
No,
alley.
I know that.
So
Yeah.
it makes it very difficult to light the street up when the pole's in the alley. So
Yeah.
I'm glad it's off your platter.
Yeah.
You got plenty to do without doing that. Okay.
And then the other thing is too, I'll giving you a month notice that the first meeting in July I'll be on vacation. I'll be out of town. So if you need me, call Phil. Call Phil. Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry,
I just want to say thank you for your help. I know you and Kent has worked on that, because I didn't know if you were going to go with that or whatever. With that being new, we just took it in. So, we're taking care of it, okay? We're on it.
Good luck.
anything else for the good of the meeting tonight? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mark?